Today is a wonderful day because I just finished my PC build, and that means that I can play Noita on camera for the first time. I have been playing this game for a while, but I've been able to record it because my computer is just not good enough. So, this is a From the Depths channel, and it'll remain a From the Depths channel. This is just a little bit of a celebration for me for putting the computer together. And I'll be treating this game as though you've never played it before. And if you like this and want to see other people play it who are actually good at it, you can watch Dunker Slam or Fury Forged or Let's Suffer It Together, and they'll explain a lot more than I would. Let's see, what is this, a warm pheromone potion? No, it's a snow potion. Well, I'll get rid of that later. So, the tagline for Noita is, every pixel is simulated, and therefore every pixel can kill you, or at least I think that's what the tagline is. And you start off with two wands. One usually helps you clear terrain with explosive effect, and generally has high damage. It doesn't always clear terrain. The exploding crystals don't really. They only clear very soft terrain. But these do, and they do high damage, which is useful for clearing bosses. You also get a random potion. I got a snow potion, which not particularly useful. So what's interesting about this game is, well, you can interact with pretty much anything, and the spellcasting system is very interesting. Now, when you're outside of a holy mountain, you can't edit wands, so we're just gonna have to live with what we get. But as soon as we get into one, we'll be able to start crafting some wands, and if you get the right combinations of spells, you can do very broken things. So we got Spark Bolt as our basic damage wand to start with. It's low damage, but pretty fast. It can crit. It's a very good utility spell, and it's very good later on. It is a low mana cost. Early on, I usually prefer Energy Sphere because it one-shots a lot of enemies that Spark Bolt does not. Instead of taking 3 shots to kill him, Energy Sphere would have only taken 1. Now that was a little dangerous because I don't have water yet. And water is how you cleanse most negative status ailments, at least most common ones. So if you're on fire, you can douse yourself with blood, but water will handle toxic as well. So sort of the first thing that I need to do before I put myself in too much risk, toxic sludge there as well, is to find water. Because currently I'm just surrounded with toxic sludge everywhere. That was an interesting jump. I'm not sure which change it was, but at some point, the attack patterns from some of these enemies got way more aggressive for the jumping ones, and they got way harder to deal with. So it feels like they never stopped jumping where they used to before. That oil barrel is very explosive, and it spews out flaming oil everywhere when it does explode, so you don't really want to get near it. I would rather let a gold nugget disappear than I would catch on fire right now. It's just too much damage. It's easy to get more gold if you have to. It is very hard sometimes to heal yourself. Yes, enemies can pick up wands. Enemies like this, which are... That's a pretty good one. It shoots the aforementioned Energy Sphere. Does 10 damage, costs 20 mana. It's a worse ratio than these Spark Bolts, which are 3 to 5, but it's very useful for killing these early game enemies faster, and it has better stats. 210 mana max, 50 recharge per second, way better than this, and the cast delay, which is for each spell, is way lower, and so is the recharge time. So the recharge time is when you get to the end of the wand, and it needs to reload all of its spells. Let me get this water, it's what I was talking about earlier. It needs to reload all of its spells. You'll pay the reload time of every spell that has a reload time modifier, and you'll pay for the wand's reload time. For each individual spell cast, you'll do something similar except for cast time. Or cast delay, I guess it's called. I'm not going to explore this level in excruciating detail. Whoops, I meant to blow up the bomb first. It would have gotten me 2 gold instead of 1. So this is a chest or a mimic. I'm going to shoot it though, and if it doesn't take damage if it just pops like that. It's a chest. That is fantastic. It's not useful yet, but it's fantastic. It has one of the best early game spells, Chain Bolt, and it's also got a very good early game modifier. Together, they're not useful, but independently, they're very useful. So in this game, there's only two things you can do for movement. You can move, jump if you're on the ground, so I guess it's 3, or you can levitate, and levitation uses this bar. Also, tap jumping is way more efficient to maintain height or to gain height than it is to just hold down the spacebar. It's why you saw me do it to get that heart at the beginning, and it's why I continue to do it as I go around. It's not just to maintain a level height, because in some ways that's actually bad. If you see very experienced people play, the way that they move is intended to make enemies miss them even when they can't see that enemy. I'm not quite so good at that as some other people are. These look the same as we saw earlier, but they're green. They've got a little bit more health, and so do the shotgun enemies there as well. I don't really have a good reason to go into the collapsed mines, so I'm just not going to. Maybe I could find some wands or some hearts there, but I don't think I really need to. Now, I'm hoping if I get really lucky, I can find a polymorphine potion, a teleport bolt, or a few other things that would be interesting. Those enemies look pretty innocuous. They're some of the more dangerous ones in this part of the game, as far as I'm concerned, because their attack speed can be quite high. If enemies burn to death, I will get double gold. I'm not very patient though, so I'm just going to kill them. Then douse myself in a little bit of water so I don't catch on fire. If I crack an egg, I'll get an ally out of it. I actually don't like them though. I prefer to work alone. Okay, I did not think I was getting one from the mines. That guy had a lot of health. I thought he was going to die, and then he didn't, so I got hit. And took a lot of damage. I would have one-shot him if he was a first zone enemy. That's why I was really surprised when he didn't die. So I'm not going to leave right now, but I'm just going to explore here and a little bit to the right and then go down. It would take me a very long amount of time to explore everything, although I typically do, if I'm not recording. Just playing by myself, I'll usually explore every piece of every level, unless something really bad happens. I also have more patience, so I might go around instead of blowing up a wall. Oil potion. There's not that much of a use for oil. Pouches can be very useful. Since I don't have other items, I will pick up the pouch. So flasks hold liquid and pouches hold granular materials. You can pick up pouches that have non-liquids in them, but for the most part, you can't refill them. I don't really need this. I already have spark bolts. Got a little bit of a tunnel vision there and almost got hit by that guy. The other dangerous thing about these guys is they can be hard to see sometimes, and they still can truck you. So you only take 1/3 damage from explosions, but they can still be quite lethal. We'll see if I get got by propane tanks. Propane tanks deal like 1,300 damage or something, which is often still enough to kill you in one shot, even if you're only taking 1/3 damage. I really don't like fighting those guys in enclosed spaces, because their shots can be difficult to dodge. So if you're unable to pick up the tablet at the beginning like I did, there's another tablet here. There's also a lava lake to the right, which takes you to the bridge boss, or the wand connoisseur, depending on what you want to call him. I'm not going to fight him, I would not win. You can cheese him though. I've never learned the cheese. But even though you can access him by this point in the game, it does not mean that you have the resources to win. If I got really lucky and picked up like Gigadisc projectile or that sort of thing, that was not great aim. You can get him to kill himself. So there is infighting among enemies. You don't have to kill everything yourself. Enemies have different levels of friendship to other enemies. They can be passive, friendly, or hostile. Those are pretty lethal. They deal 7 damage each for a total of 21. They stun you for a pretty long amount of time too, so sometimes they'll just drop you into acid or lava or something and then you just die. This fully heals you and gives you 10 extra max health. So I did not find a teleport bolt. I did find a luminous drill. That means that I can get out of this holy mountain without collapsing it. I am not going to. Luminous drill is able to dig through brickwork. Let's see. So out of these, I really don't want to take freeze field because it's going to disrupt my ability to pick up water, which I really need. Homunculus can often be less helpful than you'd hope. I'm not going to take it. Wand radar is pretty useful for getting a lot of resources quickly. It doesn't inherently make you stronger, but I'm still going to take it rather than use the reroll machine. Now, the two things about these wands that are interesting are, 1, what spells they have, and 2, what stats they have. Something like this. 10 mana recharge speed and a slow reload means that basically whatever this wand does, it's useful for bursts, just casting a set of spells, and it does cast 3 spells per cast, so I could have it cast 3 of these at the same time for phenomenal burst damage. But I'm not going to. It's just not a very good wand, and it's a shuffle wand, which means that I can't do interesting things with it because it can only cast spells in a random order. This is the wand that I started with. It's not terribly interesting either because it just doesn't have very good stats, so I'm going to get rid of that one, and just leave myself with these two. They've got the same regen speed. This one has less recharge time. To give myself a little bit more space, I'm just going to cram 2 chain bolts into this one. It'll be my damage spell. Fireball orbits are absolutely fantastic, and I'm not going to use them. Let's see what I want from here. I know that I want this. I'm deciding what I want to do with it. It doesn't always cast freeze charge, which makes it pretty useful, especially combining it with these, because these have 3 shots at a time. So the stats on these ones aren't that compelling. This one's fine. The timer means that it packages a spell in it to cast afterwards. I'm actually going to take this. So instead of using this for digging, I'm going to use this. I could instead combine the freeze charge with this to get both, it's really tempting to get both digging and a lot of damage, because this adds 5 cold damage to each shot, which doubles the damage of the triplicate bolts. However, what I've got going on here is scary enough that I'm just gonna keep it as is, because that's pretty scary. Those shot really close together. Does this have negative spread? No, it doesn't. Okay. So when I exit this, it's going to collapse these, and I will be able to re-enter here in the future, but I won't be able to edit wands. That's why I've left myself with 2 slots to pick up wands. Now, danger tends to flow from the top down in these levels. So I'm going to tend to also investigate them from the top down. So Chain Bolt, lots of damage, and very useful. Yeah, that does a little bit of damage. It's toxic gas. The thing about the Fireball Orbit is it does hurt me too, so usually I want to be retreating it. I want to be retreating when I pull the trigger, so that the chances of me getting hit with one of the fireballs are lower. The fireballs do dig as well. They're not as good as bombs, but you can get through softer ground like this with them. It's not fast though. I still brought it along as my digging wand, which is possibly not a great choice, especially when I have Luminous Drill to choose from, which can dig through almost anything, albeit slowly if you don't have add mana. Yeah, so that wand kills pretty much everything. It is what you'd call a danger wand, because it's highly dangerous to everyone involved. It's not just the enemies. The more I play the game, the more I love danger wands. But they can end runs very fast. I don't care about that as much as I used to because, you know, I've completed the game enough times that I don't have to beat the game every run. It's not like right at the beginning where you really feel that you need to beat the game. So this is a heart formation. It means that there can be either a treasure chest, max HP, or nothing here. It's unfortunately a little bit difficult for me to get to. It's not like I can't. But it is dangerous, as you can see, to do so with the spells that I'm currently working with. Really, I just want to get far enough that I can see there is, in fact, extra HP. And I'm hoping to get a fair amount of that, and some of this damage out of the way before I go and get the health refill. I do have Wand Radar, so I shouldn't forget about this wand. I do have a tendency to. But I'd like to do a little bit more exploring first while I wait for that to burn through. Pretty sure he's dead, yeah, but I don't know what killed him. Those enemies bleed slime, which slows you down. You can wash it off with water, though. I was not very effectively spreading water there. Bloodlust. Plus 33 damage, but it can hurt you. So absolutely terrifying. But again, if you want to deal damage, stuff like that is a fantastic way to deal damage. Plus 33 damage on a triplicate bolt, that's a lot of damage. These enemies are very dangerous because blood often comes out of enemies from where they died instead of where their corpses are, and sometimes comes out a very long time after you've killed them. And these guys bleed lava, so sometimes they'll just disgorge lava all over your face, just totally unexpectedly. So this map actually has 2 biomes in it instead of 1, and we're going to visit the other biome. because even though it's a little bit more difficult than this one, it has better wands, and I have a lot of damage, so I should be relatively safe. The last game I was playing, I got way less lucky and didn't have this much damage, and it was not a fun time. You don't have to go there to beat the game, so, you know. Play to your own risk tolerance. The tablet can get you out of a lot of situations, though. I haven't really been using it very effectively. I never do. Hopefully I'll find a better way to burrow through there soon. I would like to at least check what that wand has to offer. Also, if I had better digging, I could be getting a lot more gold here. As you can see, there's a lot of gold built into the stage, and I don't have a good way to access it. If it's really close to the surface, sometimes I can pick up a little bit, like a few pixels here and there. It's not really worth it, though. Physics objects like that rock deal a lot of damage to most enemies. A small number, like Mega Steve or the spiders, are immune to it, as well as some other bosses, but otherwise it's pretty devastating. I think that counted as a trick kill. The fireball damage does, depending on which part of the damage kills them, so that gets me double gold. Chaotic Path and Triple Spell are interesting. Summon Hollow Egg does interesting things, but I am not at the level where I use it in particularly nice ways. There's even a way to leave yourself an egg from a previous run unless they patched it out, which can make the following run very trivial. Oh, lava, lava, lava. Yeah, so blood can be very dangerous sometimes. This is another heart formation. Okay, so there's a nest up there. It's not just that there are a lot of enemies. I'm going to try to come around a different way so I can actually get an angle at the nest. It's really hard to come up into those enemies because of, you know, the fact that they bleed lava downwards at you while you do so. The fact that this can attack around corners is one of the reasons it's so powerful, but not the only reason. These things, if they actually get you with all those little bits, they can just kind of kill you. There's a lot of things in Noita that can just kind of kill you. We may see my run end to one of those things. Okay, I was hoping to find a way around, but it looks like we've wound up in the other biome I was talking about. Usually you get a humidity modifier. Instead, we've got roomy. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Chaotic polymorphine. I am going to pick it up. I don't want to use it. I think this is whiskey. Yeah. Let's just burn that off. I'm not entirely certain if these guys can catch me on fire or not, and I've never really wanted to find out after I catch them on fire. So I would rather just kill them, whether or not they're my friend. Berserkium makes you do a lot of damage. It also increases the danger zone from a lot of your spells. The reason a ton of gold is coming out is that these guys spawn sub-critters. And then this bolt just instantly kills the sub-critter. I did not see that guy coming. So, the first guy that I killed there that I did see earlier makes other enemies mostly invisible. Teleport mage. I didn't get the second shot off on time. I thought it was a darkness mage at first. Oh god. And then I noticed it was a teleport mage. So this one's a bit interesting. I don't really want to drop this in case an enemy picks it up. So I'm going to drop this one instead. Enemies that are on fire can't attack you, which is very useful. So that guy that I just killed, and there were some of them earlier, and I kind of panicked when one got close to me, they emit a freezing field around them. And these big enemies with the tentacles use melee attacks. Okay, I really did not see the fire there. Use melee attacks. If an enemy hits you, this is fantastic mana regeneration, but I don't have a way to abuse that because of the high recharge time currently. You basically just die if you get hit with a melee attack while you're frozen. Ambrosia Potion, possibly the most useful thing in the game. That means I don't really need this anymore. I was going to use this to make Ambrosia, but if I just get the Ambrosia, I don't need it, so just do that. Okay, this is another thing I may or may not want enemies to find. The Plasma Cutter is another one of those danger spells. I'm not going to pick this up. It is fantastic if you're boss hunting. I'm not going out of my way to kill excess bosses this run. I might still kill a few depending on how much damage I get. These are worm tracks. Although Rumi can do that, so there's not necessarily an enemy in here. But laser cutters are just a wonderful way to kill bosses. Pheromone potions are insanely useful. I'm debating whether or not I want to give up the tablet for it. I just don't use tablets that well. The only thing I would use this tablet for is killing Steve, and I'll probably be able to kill him other ways by the time I need to. Okay, so this is actually from a worm. I wasn't sure. Usually eating and drinking is not that useful. You can hold down, as long as you're not totally submerged. However, with worms, it lets you see in the dark, so to speak. So I can get through this with the fire. I'm going to do it from below, I think. Yeah, that's a mimic. It wasn't sitting on the ground properly. I did not mean to break the polymorphine. As soon as I saw it, I knew it was, but it was too late. So these guys take heavily reduced damage from both fire and this chain bolt. Got him. And they have a lot of health, and they kind of hurt. So I was hoping this was going to be a really good wand when I saw it, because they're always non-shuffle. They usually have good capacity. But the mana recharge is really poor, and I don't have an add mana to make use of it. It does have some useful stuff going on. This seems weird, but it can be useful. This always cast can be absolutely fantastic. Don't touch the polymorphine. But I'm just going to leave it on the ground for now. Some bees. Those can be a problem if you don't have a lot of damage. I do have a lot of damage, so it's not a big problem. TNT. A very useful spell, but not one that I'm interested in right now. Yep, they're very dangerous. Well, that's all that I really needed to get out of here anyway. So I'm just going to leave. No point in risking death. I dunked myself in Ambrosia and put that little block symbol up above my head. That means that I'm invincible. It's a stain that wears off very quickly, but it's very useful. And most potions you can drink to get their effects in a manner that doesn't wash off like a stain. Ambrosia, I'm pretty sure, just makes you vomit. So does Invisibilium. You can get a pacifist chest by not dealing any damage, or not killing any enemies after you collapse the Holy Mountain. So between when you collapse the Holy Mountain and when you go into the next Holy Mountain, Usually the best way to do that is with a delayed collapse of the mountain. I do not have a good way to get through here. So the collapsed brickwork is way softer than the normal brickwork. You can see I'm doing no damage to the normal brickwork, but I'm destroying the collapsed brickwork pretty quickly. If I destroy the normal brickwork, Steve will come kill me, and I really don't want that because I am not well equipped to fight Steve right now. He comes with a shield, and I am not going to be good at breaking that shield, so if I still had the tablet, I would kill him with the tablet. You can kill him with the statue, I'm not very good at that. So this can be used to measure DPS, it shows damage numbers. Oops. Yeah, so why I'm not using the statue. You can also kick the statue into Steve, and it'll just kill him. There was a lot of stuff to blow up there. Managed to get none of that water on me. The rate that you're descending at has to be pretty exact, or you just kind of mess up, like I did. So at this point I'm just going on to the next level. There is, if I can actually find a decent path through here, there is stuff that I want. Enemies can hear you cast spells, so they do come to find you. Since I have Luminous Drill, Spark Bolt with Trigger would be really nice. It's a good delivery method for Luminous Drills, which are highly damage efficient. They've got a 1-to-1 mana to damage ratio, and not much resists them. Okay, well, they'll just give me this then. It's not the only useful thing here. I'm likely going to pick up other stuff as well. No more shuffle. It means that I won't find shuffle ones anymore, and any ones that I'm currently carrying are no longer shuffles. Long distance cast is phenomenally useful if you have spells that I unfortunately do not have here. So I now have to ask myself, can I do anything with add mana here? And I think the answer is pretty clearly yes, and it's because I picked up no more shuffle. I'm kind of scared of this. I'm just going to leave it on the ground for now. So let's see, what do I want to do with add mana? So add mana has a positive cast delay, so it adds 0.17 seconds to the cast, which isn't great, but it costs negative 30 mana when you cast. Right, so if I just do something like this, wonderful. Spark Bolt unfortunately does have cast delay as well, and this wand has cast delay. Luminous Drill takes off 0.58 cast delay and 0.17 recharge. This has less than 0.17 recharge, which is wonderful. I think all that I'm going to do is this. I think this is good enough. So this will kill Steve very well, and this will make it easy for me to leave here without collapsing the tunnel if I feel like doing that, and I think I do feel like doing that. I don't really need these chain bolts anymore. You can do very interesting things with them, but I don't really need them anymore. I am going to keep some on me just in case. Realistically speaking, I don't even need this. I don't really need the triplicate bolts either. So we'll take those. I have not counted how much mana I'm spending, but I'm pretty sure... Ooh, 20... This will put me slightly negative. We'll see if the regen speed from the wand keeps up with it. It does. That adds a significant amount of extra damage. So let's call in Steve. And we'll see how much damage I'm doing. That's enough. Alrighty. This does mean that I'm going to get Mega Steve. Mega Steve's not going to be much of an issue either. I'm going to try to see if I can find some of the other fun things you can do with wands, because this is pretty easy and overpowered when you do assemble it. There's a lot of other interesting stuff you can do that's also overpowered. You're generally, in Noita, you're trying to get overpowered as early as possible. And you really need to. Noita has just interesting ways of killing you. So, I didn't explain all of the wand mechanics. So I'll go over a little bit better what these spells do. Double spell. So this casts one spell per cast, which means it's going to go through the deck one spell at a time. So I click the mouse button. The first spell is a double cast, which draws the next two cards from the deck and casts them. The first one of those cards is actually a modifier. The type is projectile modifier on it. So this itself causes the next card to be drawn and added to the next projectile. So the first of the double spells is going to be add mana, which is then going to draw Luminous Drill. And then the second one is going to hit this double spell, the first of which pulls out the freeze charge and a spark bolt, and the second of which pulls out the other spark bolt. However, all modifiers get applied to all spells in the same casting group, and all of these get cast at the same time. We can see that here. This grid tells you what spells are cast, and because these all show up at the same time, you know that these were in a single cast. So this gets applied to all three of these spells, and this, even though it doesn't do anything other than the negative 30 mana, it is still a modifier, and it still gets applied to all of these. So you can also wrap spells in some cases. However, in this case, you can only wrap spells that are in the discard, which means that they've been cast in a previous cast group. This wand casts everything in a single cast group, so I would not be able to wrap. If I have a good usage for wrap mechanics, I'll explain those a little bit better. Otherwise, if you're interested in them, you can watch a Dunker Slam video on them, because he explains a lot of stuff in wonderful ways. Or you can look at the wiki. I'm probably never going to actually wrap spells in this playthrough. I only do it in very specific circumstances. And this wand did not require it to build them. It's usually when I'm building these add mana wands, and I'm really having issues actually getting the stats right to cast every single tick, that I'll use some wrapping. So that's the Luminous Drill that's cutting through there. Because you see the spark bolts shoot away, but the Luminous Drill is actually this little bright beam that's hard to see through all the snow that goes to about here and cuts through stuff like that. It's how it's cutting through the brickwork as well. I hear an Oko. Or an Uko. Those can one-shot you. They're very dangerous. I probably don't need the Chaotic Polymorphine anymore. That looked like, yeah, Magic Arrow. Horizontal Path is very useful, so I'm going to take it. It's not useful to me right now. The reason it's useful is it adds damage for free. It does come with restrictions. The restrictions being it makes your projectile take a horizontal path. So this is one of my least favorite biomes. And as a result, I'm going to try not to spend that much time here. Looks like those rats killed whatever other enemies were here. Digging through like this can be a little bit hazardous here because sometimes you'll just hit a propane tank and die. Those get healed by cold damage, which is why I was having issues with them, and also why I got closer to kill it with the luminous drill. I could hear the shotgun effect, even though I couldn't see the enemy. And their attacks always have a consistent timing with the shotgun. And they always aim at where you were. I don't want to get as close to that guy. So enemies turn into physics objects when they get frozen. So you can kill enemies by dropping other frozen enemies on them. There's also a mini-quest. Please, I was explaining. A mini-quest that you can get by kicking these guys and killing them. I'm not going to do it. But they do have a purpose. Oh, please do not drop me into that. Thank you. So the reason I don't like this stage that much is it is monstrous, and it is also highly dangerous. I don't recognize, like, any of the heart formations here, so my chance of actually picking up hearts is pretty low. And even if I did, it's so big and so spread out that it's really, really hard to actually get hearts. If you have item radar or something, pretty easy. Otherwise, very difficult. And because of how well equipped I am, I might just skip through this pretty quickly. I already have a lot of health, enough to carry me through the rest of the game if I really need to, although I'd like to find a little bit more. Oh, dear lord. And a worm at the same time. Oh, for crying out loud. That was so close. Yeah, Noita can get really dangerous really fast. The fact that I don't have a teleport wand is insanely dangerous. I really want to kill that wand. Not that wand. I really want to kill that worm. These enemies are making it really dangerous because worms can come out of just the off-screen area very quickly. And end your life. Enemies can also see further than you. Different enemies can see further than others, but most enemies can see further than you. And it makes the stage very dangerous. Worms do tend to go down. Got him. They have a 50-50 chance of dropping hearts. Looks like that one didn't drop hearts. Also didn't drop worm blood, that's because I was using cold damage on him. Did not expect it to bounce off the snowbank. So I could go back to heal. I'm just going to keep going. One of the reasons I'm going through relatively quickly for this run is because I haven't found a shuffle effect yet. Oh, Steve is here. Let's kill him first. Another add mana. I mean, I haven't found a Tinker with Wands everywhere yet. And if I'm going to do a long run, I really need a Tinker with Wands everywhere. Wow, I didn't even pick up 2 wands that time. So by going out like this, I can come back in and edit wands later if I need to. Okay, I do have no more shuffle. It is possible to get shuffle wands, although it is very rare. So, it's expensive, but I want another add mana. There is other useful stuff in here. I'm not sure I'm going to pay this much money for it. Some of the stuff is useful, though. Is this swap or return? I can never tell them apart. Return. That's a way for me to get out without damaging the terrain. It's already too late for that, though. So I don't need this right now, but I'll need it later. I'll just keep 1 chain bolt, and I'll keep an empty inventory space. Actually, I think you didn't used to be able to take spells out of this unless you were in the Holy Mountain or had Tinker with Wands everywhere. I think you can now, though. And these can be dangerous when I drop them, because enemies can pick them up, so I'm just going to leave them here because I don't really need them. You can also put them in the walls. So I don't think... so the problem with these mecha enemies is that they don't take cold damage from me. Mist of Spirits can actually be useful. I guess I'll pick it up because I can always just drop it later. These swinging lights, when you break them off, they can give little electric discharges. I don't think that there's actually enough of it there to do that. And electricity in this game is very dangerous, and it conducts along metal surfaces. Let's see if I can get it to happen here. It's not happening, but can. So that's a propane tank. It does about 1,300 damage when it explodes. You really, really, really don't want to be too close to this. The other thing is I don't have a teleport wand. I'd usually teleport past these things so I don't take damage. Instead, I'm just going to go around. But normally I would go up here instead. Okay, yep. I could have shot that on the way to me. I did not think it was a propane tank. But I did leave health up here, so I can get it if I really need to. You can get stuck on single pixels. It is the annoying thing about this game. If you see really good people play, they'll never get stuck like that. I do have pheromone, right? Yeah. Alright. Oh no, but I've got this guy. Come on, man. No, don't kill my ally. Or, he's not really my ally, but, yeah, I needed that thing. Okay, so now I want to lure this guy onto one of these things. Come on, buddy. So he doesn't betray me again. Because I need to keep these guys alive. Because you can do this with them. They shoot healing beams. Very useful. It does take a while. But it's why I picked up pheromone potions, because it makes these guys friendly to you, and then they will heal you. Okay, I'm trying to put him out. Well, whatever. Yeah, this is one of the most dangerous stages. It's incredibly claustrophobic, has a high density of very dangerous items, and has enemies that are resistant to a variety of damage types. There are perks that get you, and spells that get you through this relatively safely. Oh no, come on. Well, I'm stuck. So no matter how safe you try to be, like blowing those up from a distance, sometimes it bites you. And that was me paying for not having a teleport wand again. It's just luck whether or not you have one. Unfortunately, I don't. I think they made them rarer. You kind of need one, though. Runs are just way more difficult without them because Small Teleport Bolt is just a wonderful get-out-of-jail-free card. I actually haven't had a Nala long-distance cast short Teleport Bolt combo in like 50 runs or something. So you can use this to cast your Teleport Bolt away from yourself, Nala, which instantly deletes projectile, and Teleport Bolt, which teleports you to the projectile when it gets deleted, so it just teleports you a fixed distance and ignores walls. Very, very useful. One of the best spell combos in the game. So the perks and spells that are useful to get you through this safely are either things that let you cast through walls, or, I mean, they're great no matter what, but you really want them in conjunction with extra visibility. So there's a perk that lets you see everywhere, and there's a spell that gives you a large, opens up a large cone of vision to you. That's exciting. I still don't have a Spark Bolt with trigger yet. Chainsaw, wonderful spell. One of the best in the game. I didn't want to kill him, and I don't think I did. If he tries to follow me, he's probably not going to survive the freezing vapors. Yeah, there was an electric shock that ran through that metal there. Very dangerous. They do anywhere from like 5 to 500 damage. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but not actually that much of an exaggeration. I couldn't tell if that was a propane tank or meat. They're oddly difficult to tell apart. If you're trying to do insane amounts of damage, so anytime you pick up these heart things, I got orbs collected from the orb that I collected right at the start. Anytime you pick those up, you approximately double the health of Colmy, the end boss. Spells to power is how you kill a high health Colmy. I'm not doing that, so I don't need it. And I don't have Tinker's Wands everywhere, which would let me pick that up with a relatively low opportunity cost. So even though I froze the toxic sludge down there, it will still damage you when you stand on it. This game does not like to make things easy for you. I'm really, really trying to hit these with multiple spells at the same time, or in quick succession, so that they don't fly off. When you spring a leak in them, it starts propelling them, and then they go jet off, and in the case of this game so far, come directly into my face. Obviously they don't have to, that's RNG, and my RNG has not been great so far. Yeah, like that. Absolutely like that. That was... I have had the worst propane tank luck I have ever had. They are just programmed to go straight for my face this game. I really wish I had explosion immunity. Ah, damn it, I noticed what it was a second too late. I did see that other one though, so hopefully I can avoid killing him. They're not very good at navigating the level, so I'm really trying to avoid bringing him with me anywhere because the chances of me killing him are incredibly high. But this is one of the few places where Noita goes easy on you. If you don't have Pheromone Potion, there are a few other ways to heal off of them, because my kick does 1 damage. Sorry, little buddy, keep healing me. Come on. Oh, it's because I'm at full health. I thought it was because I kicked him. So if you get 2 of these, you can kick one of them, the other guy will try to heal it, you get in between them, you get health. This is a wonderful danger wand. So Mist of Spirits has some very interesting things you can do with it. Not because it makes alcohol, well, it doesn't actually make alcohol, it just puts drunk stuff on enemies. Although you can do some stuff with it, there are some combos with that. It's mostly just because it lasts for a really long time and is fairly non-volatile, so if you slap a homing modifier on it, and then contact damage, it'll just fly around killing enemies. I'm going to take this instead. I'm a little scared to use it. Yeah, my bad. So he didn't get electrocuted there. I guarantee that I would have been electrocuted, and I probably would have died if I was standing where that enemy was standing. Yeah, I'm not going to pick up any of that gold. I really wish that I had fire immunity or explosion immunity by now. A little unfortunate that I don't. I can also avoid Steve or Mega Steve by burrowing down. I can just kill him though. This is the last Steve, I think, and then it's Mega Steve after that. Yeah, the gods are enraged. It's Mega Steve after this. I have enough money to roll. Toxic immunity's fine though, so I'll take it. This is a good way to heal up health. It is limited though, and you do have to get it to hit you. There are a few ways to do it. I am going to take it. Black Hole. Also, if I was doing a longer run, Black Hole would probably be one of the best spells I can get. It shoots a projectile that just eats any terrain in its path, items as well. So you can shoot it down through brickwork. It's a fast way because I'm taking teleporters, so it looks like I'm traveling from one level to another. I'm actually not. Noita is just one big world, so I can drill up through here to get to the previous stage. I can do it with luminous drills too. It would take time. I don't really have a good reason to do it either, which is the problem. I did not notice that I picked up small teleport bolt. That's fantastic. I'm not brave enough to use this spell right now. I don't think I'm going to use these anymore at this point, so let's get rid of all of those. Not going to use this. Keep you. Keep you. Plasma Beam. It's sort of like Plasma Cutter, except not as good. I could put this together with Small Teleport Bolt with this. Without Nala, I kind of don't want it. Now that I have this for better maneuvering, don't think I need all these luminous drills. I probably don't need this bomb either. So now that I have this for maneuvering, it's far more feasible for me to go up, back to the surface, and then do more exploration. I'm probably not going to use this, but I'm going to keep it just in case. So when you've got a wand with electric effects like this, you can see it going around it. Do not step in water. Just do not. Do not go into fluids. It will kill you. Sometimes you get away with it, and sometimes you don't. So, small teleport bolt shoots out a bolt. It'll either expire after a short period of time, or it'll bump into something. It's better than the normal teleport bolt because it's shorter, which means it's less likely to just shoot you off into the atmosphere. Or by the atmosphere, I mean deadly enemies, right? Because it's keeping me very much inside my field of vision. So I have Ambrosia, so if I get lucky, I could get a lot of health here. I'm not going to look for it because it takes time. May or may not explain how to do it, but it involves the Heartbreak Mages. Very dangerous enemies, but also very useful. When you get hit by them, they have your health. All of the mages have insanely harsh effects when you get hit by them. The teleport mages, the darkness mages, the blind you, the polymorph mages that turn you into sheep, which is basically instant death. I still got in trouble, even with a short one. I thought he was going to catch on fire, that's why I was being a little careful. That one's not going to be very good. It could have a good spell in it, though. Actually, that was much better than I was expecting, and it does have a good spell on it. It has Spark Bolt with Trigger. I actually forgot what I picked up here already. Oh, it was this thing. Yeah, I'm probably just going to get rid of that. I could go back and make use of Spark Bolt with Trigger. Actually, I think I'm going to do that. It's going to help me with the mini-boss enough that it's worthwhile. So there's interesting things you can do with pretty much all of these spells here. Like, it's almost impossible to just not have something fun that you can do with spells. Keep these just in case I want them. So what I'm interested in here is, and I do have to explain what triggers do, because Spark Bolt with Trigger means that when I draw this from the deck, it'll also do a similar mechanic to the next spell here. As I was describing before with either like double spell or freeze charge or that sort of thing, it'll draw this next spell from the deck and cast it in terms of recharge delay. So it'll affect anything packaged, will affect recharge time, and it'll affect mana. But it won't affect cast delay, and it won't create effects immediately. The spells don't actually get released until collision. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put the Luminous Drill outside of this group, outside of the Spark Bolts group, so that I get its cast delay modifier here, which will push my cast delay under the requisite time to get it to 0. And then this, combined with all of the Lumi drills that will go in here, need to be sufficient to get my recharge time to 0. So let's throw in some damage modifiers. This is probably a few too many. I'll take one of these guys out. Put this in here, and then 1, 2, 3. Spark Bolts give crit chance. The crit chance applies to everything in the cast group, which is these, so it's 5% crit chance for all of these. If I get a bigger wand later, which I'm just doing it on this one because it's the biggest wand I have, I could get more Spark Bolts in here if I have them. I am going to keep this stuff around. And I'll just make sure this works the way I need it to. Wonderful. You can see it launches everything horizontally. That doesn't really matter because I'm just interested in hitting enemies with it and instantly vaporizing them. I'll keep this in case I need it now that I'm here. Keep another one of these guys. Keep this guy. Don't really need anything else. So I'm pretty much all set at the moment. So this mini-boss is optional. It's one of the easiest mini-bosses in the game, though. That and the High Alchemist probably. If I had Tinker with Wands everywhere and I was doing a longer run, I would go up and kill the High Alchemist now. He gets you the Greek letter spells, which are sort of meta spells, in a way, so to speak. There's another one that I don't really need. I'm just picking up because I can. And they basically cast your other spells on the wand, and they can cast them whether or not they actually have any casts left, which is useful with Healing Bolt and Black Hole and other limited casting spells. You can get infinite usages of them. Yes, that is a boss, and it's dead. It has a lot of health. I do a lot of damage. It tends to drop a very good wand. I don't need reduced recharge time. It costs 12 mana, and I have better ways to do this. I wasn't expecting to get another wand that I'd use, but this is 23 capacity, and I'm currently working with 12, so that sounds pretty good to me. I like to use big clobbering wands that just sort of delete enemies in one shot instead of these chain wands. Not that there's any real reason to do one over the other. It's like whatever's effective and whatever's fun. A lot of the wands that do just big damage are either very harmful to you, and I mean in single cast, are either very harmful to you or need spells that I haven't been able to find. There are very good ways to assemble either hard to find or rare spells, or just look at enough spells to put together combinations that you need. But without Tinker with Wands everywhere, it's time consuming, so I'm not going to do it. And I didn't find a Heart or a Heartbreak Mage. Probably could have if I was really looking for it, but I wasn't. We should have Mega Steve. Yep, double shields. Not affected by colds. He deletes terrain around him, which actually means that you can't kill him with physics items because he deletes the physics items. Very rude all around. So Slime Blood can be incredibly hazardous because it's very electrically conductive. I'm still going to take it. The 20% damage resistance and the fact they don't get slowed down by slime are too good to pass up. I'm going to take this Bubble Shield. I may or may not actually use it, but I am going to take it. Giant Spitter Bolt. I never really use these. They're potentially useful, but it's pretty niche. Don't really need this either. This costs 5 mana. It goes up pretty significantly, right? 0, 2, 5. But I might use it. We'll see. Let's move these closer together so this doesn't take so long. I do have room for more of these, but they do cost 10 mana, and that's just not really that useful. I also didn't talk about what Chainsaw does. A good tool for cutting meat, also has some magical properties. And why it's so wonderful? Well, it does 13 slice damage, which is resisted by very few enemies. It costs 1 mana, and it has negative 17 recharge time, and it also reduced the casting time of everything in the group to 0, which I don't use that much, but comes up sometimes. So I'm not going to do any big things with this wand right now, I think. And I'm actually not even going to fill it, so I'll do some slightly less expensive things. I didn't even have something to put after this, but it doesn't cost me anything to put these guys in here. I don't have to put the shield at the beginning. It's just sort of a habit for me. Now I've got 2 shields. I am much more resilient than I was before. Well, it looks like this is still the best teleport wand. I don't really need either of these other ones for any particular reason. I haven't found a homing modifier yet. That's actually been the real thing that's been killing me for putting fun builds together. A lot of the ones that I like require homing modifiers, or just explosive invulnerability. This is another stage I like to go through quickly. Right, you can't shoot this down. I don't know why I always try, but you can't. So, this run was good in that I have a lot of modifiers. Modifier spells are what you need in this game. Oh, that was just a lot of blood coming out of an enemy corpse. A lot of flaming blood in particular. There's nothing I need from this. I'm still going to take it anyway because I have room. So it seems like you'd think an always cast add mana would be great, but always cast spells have no effect on mana. So it doesn't do anything special. It's still a good wand. I like Water Trail too. I don't think I have anything interesting to do with it, and I don't have electricity immunity, which is sort of a prerequisite to do interesting things with Water Trail. And also you've transmuted water into something else, which is usually something I would not recommend doing. That's a swap mage. If you do damage to them, you swap positions with them. There's no reason for me to engage him. If he's one of the other mages, I would just kill him because I could, but I don't feel like doing damage to the swap mage. Whenever I hear that electricity sound effect, I get real scared real fast. And if you played Noita, or you have played Noita before, you probably do too. Even though I have double shields, I still can't take anything for granted, especially with no explosion immunity. My life can end pretty quickly. This is one of the spells I was talking about, very useful. Yep, he destroys terrain. Fire immunity, very useful earlier. There's some interesting things you can do with it too, although for the most part less interesting than explosive immunity, but explosions tend to catch you on fire, so often go together. Digging Blast, another very fun spell I didn't get here. It's, for the most part, like a weak chainsaw, but if you don't have Luminous Drill, it can be useful to get through dirt quickly, or just dirt faster than Luminous Drill. And if I'd been playing around more and picked up more money, I'd pick up All-Seeing Eye here. Very good spell. No real reason to do any crafting here, so let's just keep going. This stage, oddly, is sort of a break in difficulty compared to some of the other very harmful stages earlier. Although they do have those stones that just sort of... some of them are worse than others. That was a green one, which makes Cursed Rock, which damages you if you touch it. The red ones are the really dangerous ones. They cast Earthquake. So I don't need this for anything, but this is another place where you can get interesting spell effects. The LARPA modifiers are a lot of fun, rarely particularly useful, but a lot of fun. Upward LARPA, Black Hole, 10 out of 10. Or any LARPA with the Holy Hand Grenade, also 10 out of 10. Yep, so that's the one I was talking about. So physics objects usually can't hurt the player. That absolutely can. I don't know why these guys attack those, they'll never do any damage to them. I actually don't know how to kill them. I think they are killable, but I've never tried to figure out how. Ghost worms, they can, I was going to say they can tunnel through rock without damaging it. No, they actually just don't tunnel through rock. They just sort of magically transport themselves. I also think that they have no autonomy over their direction. At the very least, you don't if you use chaotic polymorphine and turn yourself into one of those. Another red rock. These guys, you saw them briefly, they shoot out this little bubble, and if it hits you, it polymorphs you. Way less dangerous than a polymorph mage, because you can see it coming and kill it by shooting it, and you can't do that against a polymorph mage, who often just delete you from off screen with a much faster projectile. that was another mage enemy. That one stops you from casting spells if it hits you. You just get blocked out of casting spells entirely for a certain amount of time. Not necessarily the most dangerous, but because you can still see and stuff. Like, to some extent, the Darkness Mage that just totally blinds you is way worse. And that's pretty much Noita. We're going to kill the last Steve, and then we're going to kill Colmy, and that's it. Also, you can see these are getting way more expensive, and I am not exploring enough to get the necessary money to buy them. Even if I do explore a lot, it's still a problem. Got no wand tinkering, but not tinker with wands everywhere. This is a very fun spell, Projectile Area Teleport. It makes this sphere around a projectile, and if an enemy gets within that sphere, the projectile teleports to them instantly. It can be very useful to get projectiles to track enemies closely. This turns projectiles into ducks. We've been seeing a lot of add mana, so we can do very degenerate things, but you only need the things to be so degenerate unless you're trying to do some pretty big runs. I'm not going to take this. Boomerang spells is obviously very useful if you have Healing Bolt. However, it does deal extra damage, and Healing Bolt does -9 damage healing. If you add more than 9 damage to a Healing Bolt, it just hurts you. So the Boomerang spell's perk that adds damage isn't as useful, to me at least, especially because it affects everything, as the Boomerang spell's modifier, which you can put into a wand and just modify spells. Unfortunately, I didn't find any of the trajectory modifying modifiers during this run, like homing or boomerang or any of those fun ones. Well, I found Upwards Arc. I got rid of that wand. But there's a lot of really fun spells that I just didn't come across in this run, and Noita's a roguelike, so you'll play a lot of runs in Noita, and sometimes you'll find really fun spells. And sometimes, well, like, if you haven't done a run with a chain gun like this before, it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun the second and the third, and sometimes the fourth or fifth time as well. But the more you play, the more just, like, weird stuff you get into with spells. I kept this run pretty fast and pretty standard, but you can do a bunch of weird stuff. So we'll make Colmy start attacking us. He only has 1600 health. And we only have one orb, so we're going to jump through this. We'll pick up our statue, and when we complete the work, it's going to turn the whole world into golds, which I guess is the goal of any alchemist. It's going to turn us into gold too. I could try to outdig this, but I'm not going to. I'm going to let it kill me. There are different endings you can get with different amounts of orbs. There is a very wide world to explore and have fun with, but this is more of, targeted against non-Noita audience, and to do long runs, you have to get lucky with the perks that you get to make them productive and fast rather than having a lot of boring busy work. So, I just wanted to do one run for the camera rather than record like 10 and pick one really neat one. So anyway, this is probably my favorite non-From the Depths game, and I hope you've enjoyed watching it. And I'll see you in the future.